chosen one. You can feel it now, even if you have not fully found the language for it yet. Something has changed. Something has broken in your favor. Something that fought you for longer than anyone ever understood has finally lost its grip. And the reason this moment feels so unusual is because your spirit knows you are not standing where you used to stand. You are not fighting from the same ground anymore. You are not begging from the same wounded place anymore. You are not hoping with the same desperate uncertainty anymore. You have crossed through a battle that was trying to rename you through pain, and yet here you are, still standing, still clear, still chosen, still carrying the mark of heaven on your life. This is not pride. This is not fantasy. This is not you exaggerating your importance. This is the sober recognition that God did not bring you through all of that just to leave you unchanged. You finally won. And that victory is bigger than other people can see on the surface. It is not only about a door opening. It is not only about an enemy being silenced. It is not only about you reaching a long-awaited answer. It is also about the fact that something inside you refused to die. There were moments when they thought your light would dim. There were seasons when the pressure became so heavy that even you wondered how much longer you could carry it. There were nights full of questions, quiet disappointments, and tears nobody had a right to speak on because nobody was there to witness them. Yet God was there. God saw what people overlooked. God heard what you could not say out loud. God watched you hold on while the battle tried to drain the last ounce of strength from your heart. And now heaven is making it known that your endurance was not wasted. That is why this moment requires discernment. When a person has been in defeat for a long time, everyone becomes comfortable with the version of them that is always struggling, always explaining, always trying to recover, always surviving one more blow. But when that same person rises, when that same person begins to carry the evidence of divine favor, when that same person no longer speaks from confusion but from clarity, something shifts in the atmosphere around them. The room responds differently. The energy changes. Hidden motives begin to surface. Smiles are no longer as simple as they seem. Questions are no longer always innocent. Invitations are no longer always harmless. What once felt casual now has weight, because victory exposes what loss used to conceal. You need to hear this deeply. Winning does not only attract celebration, it also attracts attention. And attention is not the same as support. Some people know how to sit near pain because pain makes them comfortable. Pain asks for little. Pain does not threaten insecure hearts. Pain does not confront hidden jealousy. But when God lifts you, when peace returns to your face, when confidence settles into your voice, when your steps stop sounding wounded and start sounding sure, that change can disturb people who secretly benefited from your weakness. This is why you cannot move carelessly after a breakthrough. This is why you cannot assume that everybody who clapped for your process is ready for your arrival. Some people liked you better when your life looked delayed. Some people understood you only when you were depleted. Some people could stand beside you only when they believed you would never rise beyond the role they assigned to you. But chosen one, your life does not belong to their expectations. Your calling does not shrink to protect another person's comfort. Your anointing does not apologize for growing. What God has placed on you in this hour is sacred, and sacred things must be guarded. This is the part many people do not talk about. Everybody loves the language of victory, but few are willing to honor the responsibility that follows it. Victory is not only a reward. Victory is also a gate. And once you pass through that gate, you must learn not to hand your peace back to what God delivered you from. You must learn not to reopen access to voices that kept you doubting. You must learn not to return your energy to spaces that always left you heavy. You must learn that protection is not rejection, and distance is not cruelty, and silence is not weakness. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is step back and refuse to let what is unstable come near what God is stabilizing. This is why this message is landing on you now. Not by accident, not because of chance, not because the timing is random. You are being warned because you are being trusted. Heaven does not warn people it has abandoned. Heaven warns the ones it intends to preserve. So when you feel that nudge to pull back, listen. When you sense that you should not explain everything, listen. When your spirit tells you that this is a moment to be still, to stay close to God, to let your victory breathe away from noise, listen. You do not need to make a dramatic announcement. You do not need to argue with anyone. You do not need to prove that your boundaries are justified. You only need to obey, and as you obey, you will begin to understand that what looks like distance is often actually alignment. God is not isolating you to harm you. God is teaching you how to protect the new thing. He is teaching you how to recognize the difference between connection and access. He is teaching you how to stop confusing familiarity with safety. He is teaching you that not every open hand should touch what He has blessed. There are moments when favor is so fresh that it must be covered. There are moments when the answer is so new that it must be sheltered. There are moments when your spirit needs room to adjust to what God has done, without the pressure of outside opinions trying to interpret it, before you have even finished thanking Him. So breathe in this truth. You are not being overly cautious. You are not imagining the shift. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming wise. The battle taught you things. The fire revealed things. The delay clarified things. And now that you have finally won, you are being called into a higher level of awareness. Not fear, but awareness. Not paranoia, but discernment. Not hiding, but guarding. This Sunday carries weight, and your spirit already knows it. Honor that knowing. Respect that tug. Protect your atmosphere. Protect your mind. Protect your joy. Protect the fragile beauty of what God is restoring in you. If this word meets you exactly where you are, comment 999 as your sign that you will guard what God has placed in your hands, and you will not let unnecessary company interfere with holy peace. Because the truth is simple, chosen one. Not everyone can stand near you in the same way now. Not because you are above them, but because you are under instruction. Not because you are better, but because you are marked. Not because you are angry, but because you are awakening. And once you understand that your win must be protected, you will stop feeling guilty for choosing peace over pressure, stillness over noise, and obedience over approval. That is why this Sunday carries a warning over it. And you can feel the weight of that warning before the day even arrives. Something in your spirit is already pulling you inward, already asking you to slow down, already telling you not to treat this like any ordinary moment. You have entered a stretch where your victory must be covered, because what has just broken in your favor is still fresh, still tender, still sacred. Some people think danger only appears when life is falling apart. But there are times when danger comes the moment heaven lifts you. There are moments when the greatest risk is not open attack, but unnecessary closeness. There are seasons when the wrong conversation, the wrong environment, or the wrong company can disturb what God is trying to settle inside you. This is not about fear. It is about spiritual intelligence. It is about recognizing that when God shifts your life, the atmosphere around you also shifts, and everyone does not respond to that shift with a clean heart. Some will want information they have not earned. Some will want access they no longer have the grace to carry. Some will want to stand near you not to bless what God has done, but to inspect it, measure it, question it, or quietly pull on it with their own unrest. This is why you must not move casually. This is why you must not ignore the discomfort rising in your spirit when you think about being around certain people this Sunday. Your spirit is not confused. Your spirit is reading something your eyes have not fully explained yet. This is where the story of David begins to move beside your own. David did not step into victory because people believed in him. He did not rise because a crowd was ready to celebrate him. He rose because God had already chosen him in private, long before public eyes understood what was happening. And when David faced Goliath, the battle looked like a simple confrontation between a shepherd boy and a giant. But heaven knew it was bigger than that. It was the revealing of a new season. It was the exposure of hidden courage. It was the moment a young man stepped into a visible victory that could no longer be denied. David won in front of everyone. But what followed that triumph was not a peaceful parade into ease. What followed was attention. What followed was scrutiny. What followed was the unsettling reality that once victory becomes visible, it changes how people carry themselves around you. You are standing in a similar tension now. You finally won. But victory does not mean you should suddenly become open to everybody. David's success stirred the room in ways he could not ignore. What had been hidden in him became obvious. What had been underestimated could no longer be dismissed. His presence started to mean something different. Even his name began to carry weight. That is what happens when God places evidence on your life. You stop being easy for people to define through old labels. You stop fitting into the space others created for your weakness. You stop appearing small enough for insecure people to relax around your potential. And when that happens, discernment becomes essential. This Sunday matters because not every gathering is harmless, and not every invitation is innocent. Some rooms carry confusion. Some voices carry pressure. Some people carry agitation in their spirit. And if you go where God did not send you, you can end up spending precious strength recovering from contact you were warned against in advance. The issue is not that everyone around you is evil. The issue is that not everyone around you is aligned with what God is protecting right now. That difference matters. You do not need to hate people in order to step back from them. You do not need proof that they intend harm in order to honor what God is saying. Sometimes obedience happens before explanation. Sometimes wisdom moves before evidence becomes public. Sometimes peace requires distance before the mind can fully justify why. David had to learn that after visible victory, hidden tension increases. The songs that lifted his name also awakened envy in the wrong heart. The moment that should have opened effortless celebration also opened a season of deeper caution. In the same way, your win has awakened movement around you that cannot be handled through naivete. What God is doing in your life has become noticeable, and because it is noticeable, it must be guarded. There is no shame in that. There is no arrogance in that. There is only wisdom in recognizing that a blessed life still needs boundaries. This is why you must listen closely this Sunday, not to noise, not to pressure, not to guilt. Listen to the quiet instruction of God. Listen to the inward restraint that tells you not to go, not to explain, not to overextend, not to hand your peace to people who do not know how to handle it with clean hands. The Lord often speaks through holy unease before trouble ever shows its face. He often warns by troubling your spirit before your circumstances catch up with what He already sees. And when He does that, the wise do not argue. David's life proves that victory and caution can exist together. Being chosen did not remove his need for discernment. Being anointed did not mean every person around him was safe. Being favored did not cancel the need to pull back at the right time. The same is true for you now. You are not less faithful because you choose distance. You are not less loving because you decline access. You are not less spiritual because you protect your atmosphere. In many cases, that protection is the evidence that you are finally maturing in how you carry what God has entrusted to you. So let this settle deeply in your heart. This Sunday is not just another date on the calendar. It is a moment under instruction. It is a day to move carefully, to stay close to God's voice, and to respect what your spirit is already sensing. The pattern has always been the same. Before God establishes peace around you, He teaches you not to ignore warning within you. As it is written, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" Psalm 27 verse 1. That is not the language of panic. That is the language of protected confidence. You do not withdraw because you are defeated. You withdraw because God is leading you wisely through the early hours of your victory. And that is exactly why discernment must become your shield now. Because once the warning settles into your spirit, the next thing God teaches you is how to recognize what has been hiding in plain sight. Not every threat announces itself with loud hostility. Not every danger comes wearing an obvious face. Some things arrive smiling. Some things arrive sounding supportive. Some things arrive carrying curiosity that pretends to be care. This is why your spiritual growth in this season is not only about strength, it is about sight. It is about finally seeing what you once excused, finally feeling what you once brushed aside, and finally acknowledging the tension that kept trying to speak to you before your mind had words for it. You have entered a moment where hidden envy, quiet resistance, and disguised discomfort begin to reveal themselves, not because you suddenly became suspicious, but because your spirit is no longer asleep. There was a time when you would have ignored the shift in a person's tone. There was a time when you would have talked yourself out of what you sensed. There was a time when you would have kept giving access simply because history existed, simply because familiarity existed, simply because you did not want to look harsh or overly sensitive. But God has been sharpening your discernment through every battle you survived. He has been teaching you that peace does not remain where wisdom is constantly ignored. He has been showing you that some of the heaviness you used to carry did not come from your own life at all. It came from the company you kept too close. That is where David's path keeps unfolding beside yours. After he defeated Goliath, his life could not return to what it had been. The victory was too visible. The shift was too real. People could no longer pretend that he was ordinary. And as his name grew, the hearts around him began to reveal themselves. Saul, the king who should have rejoiced in what God had done for Israel, became disturbed by the very evidence of grace resting on David's life. The songs of celebration became mirrors that exposed what was inside him. What should have sounded like national joy became personal irritation. What should have brought unity brought comparison. What should have inspired gratitude stirred insecurity. David did not create that reaction. His victory exposed it. That is something you must understand about your own life right now. Sometimes people are not reacting to anything you did wrong. They are reacting to what your rise forces them to confront inside themselves. Your peace can expose another person's chaos. Your discipline can expose another person's excuses. Your healing can expose another person's refusal to change. Your quiet confidence can expose another person's deep inner lack. This is why discernment matters. You must stop assuming every strange energy around you is random. Some of it is revelation. Some of it is exposure. Some of it is God letting you see who can carry your new season and who only knew how to relate to your old struggles. David had to live with that tension. He played skillfully, he served faithfully, he acted with integrity, yet the spear still came. The hostility was not born from David's rebellion. It rose from Saul's unrest. In the same way, you must not automatically blame yourself for every shift in the way people treat you. There are moments when your obedience to God becomes the very thing that unsettles those who are unwilling to obey Him themselves. There are moments when your blessing becomes intolerable to people who only felt safe when you were small. And if you do not have discernment, you will spend precious energy trying to repair relationships that were actually being revealed, not ruined. This Sunday, that discernment matters more than ever. You do not need to attend every invitation just because it exists. You do not need to answer every message with full access to your inner world. You do not need to explain your restraint to those who benefited from your overexposure. The Lord is teaching you how to read what is beneath the surface. He is teaching you to notice where peace leaves your body. He is teaching you to notice where your spirit tightens, where your joy dims, where your words begin to feel unsafe in your own mouth. Those signs are not small. They are often mercy. And the beautiful thing is that discernment does not make you bitter. It makes you stable. It helps you love without becoming careless. It helps you remain kind without becoming unguarded. It helps you recognize that distance is sometimes an act of stewardship. David did not survive by pretending danger was not real. He survived because, over time, he learned that being chosen required more than courage in battle. It required wisdom in proximity. Not everyone who stands near you is standing with you. Not everyone who listens to you is listening for your good. Not everyone who asks questions deserves full answers. So as you move through this word, let your heart become settled in truth. You are allowed to notice patterns. You are allowed to believe what repeated behavior has shown you. You are allowed to pull back before confusion becomes damage. And you are allowed to honor God's instruction without carrying guilt for protecting what He has placed in your hands. That is not selfishness. That is maturity. That is what it looks like when a chosen one stops living available to every draining force and starts living aligned with divine wisdom. If this message is helping you see your season more clearly, let that support show in a simple and meaningful way. You can like this message so more people who need discernment can find it. Share it with someone whose spirit has been sensing the same warning, and subscribe so you can keep walking through these moments with steady strength instead of confusion. And for those who feel led to help support this work more deeply, there is also a way to give through the description, which helps this message continue reaching the people who need it most. Because what God is doing in you now is not random. He is teaching your hands to guard, your mind to discern, and your spirit to recognize what your old self would have overlooked. David's story keeps whispering the lesson with every step. Victory is real, but so is exposure. Favor is beautiful, but it reveals hearts. And once God opens your eyes, you cannot go back to calling everything harmless just because it arrives in familiar form. You are learning to see, and that sight is becoming one of the greatest protections heaven has placed over your life. And once your eyes begin to open, you start understanding something that once felt painful but now reveals itself as mercy. God separates before He elevates. He does not always announce that separation in ways your emotions enjoy, but He does it with precision and always with purpose. What feels like loss at first often turns out to be protection. What feels like distance often turns out to be design. What feels like a painful shift in relationships often turns out to be the quiet hand of God removing what cannot travel where He is taking you. This is why you must not misread the discomfort of this season. You are not being abandoned. You are being positioned. There are people who fit one chapter of your life, but cannot fit the next one without creating damage. There are environments that once felt familiar but now feel heavy because your spirit has outgrown what your flesh once tolerated. There are conversations you used to entertain that now leave you drained for reasons you can no longer ignore. The reason is simple. Your next level cannot survive old access. What God is building in you now is too important to remain exposed to the same hands, the same energies, the same assumptions, and the same patterns that were attached to an earlier version of you. Elevation requires a change in proximity. Favor requires stewardship. Breakthrough requires boundaries. This is where David's story becomes even more personal to your own. After the songs began and Saul's jealousy awakened, David entered a season where separation was no longer optional. He could not stay close in the same way. He could not remain casually available in the same atmosphere that had turned unstable around him. The palace that once looked like a place of honor became a place of tension. The proximity that once seemed like advancement began to carry danger inside it. And this is one of the hardest lessons for a chosen one to accept. Sometimes the very place that looked like confirmation becomes the place God teaches you to leave. Sometimes what once felt like opportunity becomes the environment you can no longer trust. Sometimes elevation starts with a painful realization that what is nearest to you is not always safest for you. David did not become less anointed when he had to step away. He did not become less chosen when he had to live apart from the ease and recognition that others might have envied. In fact, the separation itself became part of his preparation. Away from constant access, away from the unstable presence of Saul, away from the expectations of a system that could not fully carry what God had placed on him. David was being shaped. His trust deepened, his hearing sharpened. His dependence on God became stronger than his dependence on public acceptance. That is what divine separation does. It strips away illusions. It reveals where your confidence truly lives. It teaches you whether you are leaning on God or leaning on human approval. The same thing is happening with you now. God is not merely telling you to avoid certain company this Sunday because he wants you alone for the sake of isolation. He is showing you that separation is a holy strategy. He is cutting away interference before it becomes entanglement. He is teaching you to stop calling every open door a blessing and every close relationship a safe place. There is wisdom in stepping back before confusion takes root. There is wisdom in going quiet before explanation turns into overexposure. There is wisdom in recognizing that some people only had permission for a former season, and their discomfort now is proof that their access has expired. That truth can sting at first because part of you still remembers the history. Part of you still remembers the familiar version of the connection. Part of you still wants to believe that everyone will adjust with grace as God lifts you higher. But not everyone adjusts well when they can no longer reach you in the same old ways. Not everyone celebrates the boundaries that protect your peace. Not everyone understands the quiet strength it takes to say no without bitterness and to step back without hatred. Yet obedience does not wait for universal understanding. Obedience moves when God speaks. David's life carries that lesson with power. He was not running because he lacked calling. He was moving because calling required discernment. He was not separated because God had forgotten him. He was separated because God's hand was preserving him for something greater than the current moment. Every step away from dangerous closeness was also a step toward the throne God had already seen. Every painful change in access was making room for a future that old relationships could not control. And in that hidden space, David was not losing, He was becoming. You are becoming too. That is why this separation matters so much. You cannot keep entertaining what weakens you and expect to remain strong. You cannot keep granting emotional access to those who repeatedly disturb your spirit and still expect peace to stay rooted in you. You cannot carry a new anointing with old permissions. God loves you too much to let you remain exposed where you should now be covered. He loves you too much to let you keep calling it loyalty when it is really fear of disappointing people. He loves you too much to let you treat boundaries like betrayal when those boundaries are the very tools preserving your assignment. So let this settle in you without resistance. The pull to step back is not punishment, it is preparation. The shift in relationships is not always tragedy. Sometimes it is alignment. And the loneliness that can briefly visit separation is not the final story. Often it is the quiet hallway that leads into a stronger, cleaner, holier season of your life. As it is written, He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23 verses 2 through 3. That is what God is doing. He is leading you away from turbulence and into restoration. But to reach still waters, you cannot remain planted in every noisy place that demands your presence. So this Sunday, do not fight the separation. Honor it. Let God reduce the noise. Let Him interrupt the old pattern. Let Him teach your heart that elevation and distance sometimes walk together. Because when the Lord begins to raise a chosen one, He first teaches that chosen one how to survive without constant access to everyone who once stood nearby. And what feels strange now will soon make sense. The distance will reveal its wisdom. The silence will reveal its kindness. The separation will reveal that God was not taking something from you. He was guarding what He placed within you. At the beginning of this part, there is one practical note for those of you who have been feeling mentally foggy, scattered, drained, unable to focus, or as though the pressure of this season has made it harder to think clearly and stay at peace. Some people find support in a product called the Genius Wave or Genius Song, which is presented as a short audio based on brainwave entrainment and designed to be used for a few minutes each day to help with focus, mental clarity, creativity, calm, and a more settled inner state. Or, if that is something you want to explore for yourself, you can check the official information in the description or the pinned comment. And if you do decide to try it, be careful with imitation pages and only use the official source. And now, return with me fully to the deeper message. Because what God is showing you here is greater than a tool, greater than a method, and greater than any surface solution. What heaven is teaching you now is the power of silence. Not empty silence, not wounded silence, not the silence of fear. This is the silence that protects what God is building before the world has the right to touch it. This is the silence that keeps your peace from being interrupted by unnecessary opinions. This is the silence that weakens the watchers. There are people who study your tone, your timing, your energy, your reactions, your plans, and even your pauses, not because they are deeply aligned with your calling, but because something in them needs to monitor what God is doing in your life. They want clues. They want updates. They want access to your process. They want to know whether you are still rising, whether you are still standing, whether you are still carrying the oil they secretly hoped would dry up. And one of the strongest moves you can make in this season is to say less. Not everything needs to be spoken while it is still becoming. Not everything God tells you in private is meant for public handling. Not every open door needs a public announcement. Not every spiritual shift needs immediate language. Sometimes your greatest protection is quiet movement. Sometimes the holiest decision you can make is to stop explaining what God never told you to announce. The watchers lose strength when they lose information. The atmosphere clears when your mouth stops feeding what should have been left outside the gate. The moment you understand this, you stop mistaking oversharing for authenticity and start recognizing restraint as wisdom. David had to learn that after his victory, after the songs, after the sudden rise in attention around his name. He entered a stretch of life where silence became part of survival. He could not speak carelessly in every room. He could not move as though every listener was harmless. He could not assume that every person asking questions deserved full answers. Saul's unrest had already been stirred. The spear had already revealed what words could no longer hide. David was now living in a reality where public favor and private danger existed at the same time. That kind of season trains a person differently. It teaches them that courage is not only seen in battlefields, it is also seen in restraint, in discernment, and in knowing when to keep the deeper things between your soul and God. That lesson is yours now. Some of what is around you this Sunday will not be defeated by argument. It will not be defeated by confrontation. It will not be defeated by emotional explanation. It will be defeated by your refusal to participate. When you stop giving people access to your fresh oil, they are forced to stand outside what they can no longer reach. When you stop reporting every movement, every hope, every plan, and every breakthrough, the power of monitoring begins to break. There is a kind of warfare that ends not because you shouted louder, but because you became quieter. You stepped back. You withheld access. You let God cover what had become too valuable to leave exposed. This is especially important because your peace is still settling into you. Victory has come. Yes, but the soul often needs time to fully inhabit what heaven has released. You are learning how to live without the old weight. You are learning how to breathe in a different atmosphere. You are learning how to think from wholeness instead of survival. In moments like that, too much outside contact can interrupt the settling. Too many voices can create inner static. Too much explaining can weaken the sacred simplicity of obedience. That is why silence is not emptiness here, and it is shelter. David's life keeps proving the point. He was not weak because he became careful. He was not faithless because he moved with wisdom. He was not dishonest because he stopped handing out unnecessary information. He was under pressure, yes, but he was also under instruction, and the instruction preserved him. There were things God was doing in him that needed hidden time. There were promises maturing in him that could not be rushed by public visibility. There was kingship in his future. But before the crown fully appeared, silence helped guard the process. So let this settle deeply into your spirit. You do not need to narrate every chapter while you are still walking through it. You do not need to satisfy every curious voice. You do not need to prove your sincerity by making yourself fully available. Sometimes the strongest thing a chosen one can do is become prayerful, become still, and become harder to read by those who do not truly stand in covenant with what God is doing. This is not manipulation. This is stewardship. This is what it looks like when wisdom grows up inside your spirit and starts protecting the very life heaven has breathed over you. And once you understand that, this Sunday begins to look different. It is no longer a day to perform closeness. It is no longer a day to hand out explanations. It is no longer a day to feed watchers with details they were never assigned to carry. It becomes a day of holy quiet, inward strength, and guarded peace. It becomes a day where you let the Lord cover you, steady you, and silence the urge to over-explain what only He fully understands. Because your victory is real, and now your silence must learn how to protect it. And after silence has done its work, you begin to understand why your peace is no longer something casual. It is sacred now. It is not a small mood that comes and goes depending on who is around you. It is not a surface comfort that can be traded away just to keep other people pleased. It is not a minor emotional preference. Your peace has become holy territory. God has carried you through too much, delivered you from too much, and restored too much within you for you to keep treating your inner calm like it is available for public disturbance. This Sunday especially, that truth matters. You are not being called to entertain pressure. You are being called to protect presence. You are not being called to fill the day with noise. You are being called to honor what heaven is settling inside you. There was a time when you gave your peace away too easily. A conversation could steal it. A familiar voice could disrupt it. An invitation rooted in obligation could drain it. Someone else's confusion could enter your spirit and sit there long after the moment had passed. You know what that feels like. You know what it is to leave an interaction heavier than when you entered it. You know what it is to replay words in your mind, to feel tension in your chest, to sense that something in you has been pulled out of alignment simply because you stayed too long, explained too much, or opened too wide. But that pattern cannot continue where God is taking you. Peace is no longer optional for you. It is essential. It is part of how you survive this next season with clarity. David had to learn that in ways deeper than most people realize. After the songs of triumph and the unveiling of Saul's unrest, life was no longer simple around the places that once seemed honorable. The atmosphere had changed. What should have been safety carried threat. What should have been support carried unpredictability. David could not afford to treat that lightly. He could not keep showing up as though discernment did not matter. He could not keep giving the same emotional openness to a space where jealousy had already revealed itself. His peace had to be guarded, not because he lacked courage, but because courage without wisdom becomes carelessness. And God was not raising a careless servant. He was shaping a king. That same shaping is happening in you. Every time you feel the pull to protect your peace instead of offering it up to confusion, you are growing. Every time you choose stillness over chaotic company, you are maturing. Every time you refuse to let guilt talk you out of obedience, you are becoming stronger in the place that matters most. Because peace is not weakness. Peace is order. Peace is alignment. Peace is the settled state of a life that has stopped bowing to every demand placed on it by unstable people. And when God gives you that kind of peace, He expects you to guard it. This Sunday is one of those moments where protection will matter more than performance. You do not need to be seen by everyone. You do not need to prove that you are kind by making yourself available beyond wisdom. You do not need to show loyalty by ignoring what your spirit has already warned you about. Peace has a voice, and when it begins to withdraw from certain spaces in advance, it is often because God is guiding you away from unnecessary disturbance. Listen to that. Honor that. Let your no remain quiet and clean if it must. Let your absence preach what your mouth does not need to explain. And as this message continues to steady you, let it stay close. If this is feeding your spirit and putting language to what you have been sensing, letting it reach further matters too. A simple like helps more people find this word when they are standing at the same crossroads. Sharing it can place it in front of someone who has been fighting guilt for protecting their peace. Subscribing keeps you connected to these messages as you move through this season with greater discernment. And for those who feel led to support this work in a deeper way, there is a giving option in the description, which helps keep these messages going out to the people who need them. Now come back to the heart of this moment, because the deeper truth is that peace is not just something you feel, It is something you steward. David could not become who God called him to be while ignoring the environments that kept agitating his spirit. He had to recognize that some places were no longer meant for his constant presence. He had to learn that preserving his inner world was part of preserving his calling. That is not selfishness. That is sacred responsibility. The same applies to you. The more clearly God marks your life, the more carefully you must guard what enters your atmosphere. So do not apologize for wanting a quiet Sunday. Do not let anyone shame you for needing room to breathe, pray, recover, and remain inwardly steady. Do not confuse access with love. Do not confuse exhaustion with faithfulness. Do not confuse being constantly available with being spiritually mature. Your peace has cost too much. It has been fought for in tears, in prayer, in endurance, in lonely nights, and in battles no one around you fully understood. Now that God has brought you into a clearer place, you must not hand it away just because someone else wants your attention. This is your sacred territory now. Let God keep it holy. Let Him teach you that rest is holy, calm is holy, and distance can be holy when He is the one asking for it. What He is protecting in you this Sunday is not small. It is the beginning of a stronger inner life, a steadier heart, and a cleaner atmosphere around your soul. Guard it like someone who finally understands its worth. And this is where obedience begins to reveal its power in a way that many people do not understand until much later. There are moments when the greatest victory in your life does not come from what you build, what you say, or what you achieve in public. It comes from what you refuse. It comes from the door you do not reopen. It comes from the place you do not return to. It comes from the conversation you do not entertain, the pressure you do not bow to, and the company you do not keep when God has already warned your spirit to stay clear. This Sunday carries that kind of weight. It is not only about avoiding discomfort, it is about honoring instruction. It is about understanding that one act of restraint can spare you from a season of unnecessary trouble. Obedience is often quiet when it matters most. It does not always look dramatic. It does not always come with applause. Sometimes it looks like staying home when others expect your presence. Sometimes it looks like saying less when everything in you wants to explain. Sometimes it looks like disappointing people who have grown accustomed to your constant availability. And because it is quiet, many underestimate how holy it is. But heaven does not underestimate it. God sees every restrained step, every guarded response, every private decision to honor peace over pressure, and He attaches protection to those moments in ways you may not fully realize until much later. David's life shows this with great clarity. There were many times when he could have acted from emotion. There were many times when he could have forced a response, made a reckless move, or let frustration become his guide. Saul's instability was not hidden anymore. The danger was real. The pursuit grew personal. The pressure grew heavy. And yet David's survival did not depend only on strength. It depended on obedience. He had to listen when the path forward did not make sense to the natural mind. He had to move when God signaled movement. He had to withdraw when pride might have told another man to stay and prove a point. He had to trust that delayed reaction was not weakness, and that restraint was not failure. That is the lesson pressing on your life now. You may be tempted to think that one Sunday, one gathering, one conversation, or one moment of compromise is too small to matter. But spiritual turning points often look small before they reveal their consequences. One act of obedience can block what would have become confusion. One step of restraint can keep your atmosphere from being polluted. One simple decision to protect your peace can save you from emotional exhaustion you would otherwise carry for days. This is why you must not treat the warning lightly. The instruction may seem quiet, but the protection attached to it is not small. There is also something else you need to see here. Obedience often protects more than your feelings. It protects your timing. It protects your momentum. It protects the fragile beginning of what God is restoring in you. You are in a season where your soul is settling into victory, where your mind is learning how to live without constant tension, where your inner life is becoming steadier than it has been in a long time. That kind of restoration needs guarding. It needs agreement. It needs choices that cooperate with grace instead of resisting it. When God says step back and you obey, you are not merely avoiding a bad moment. You are aligning with the flow of preservation. David understood that more deeply as his journey unfolded. There were places where he could not remain, not because God had rejected him, but because God was preserving the promise on his life. Every obedient withdrawal became part of that preservation. Every restrained response became part of that preservation. Every moment he refused to let pride take the wheel became part of that preservation. And in time, what looked to others like delay was revealed as divine wisdom. God was not withholding the throne from David. God was preparing David to reach it without becoming corrupted on the way. The same mercy is working around you now. God is not asking you to step back this Sunday because he wants you deprived. He is asking because he sees what you do not fully see yet. He sees the conversation that would linger too long in your spirit. He sees the tension that would drain your mind. He sees the subtle disruption that would try to settle over your peace. He sees the access that should not be granted in this hour. And because he sees it, he warns you in advance. This is love. This is care. This is the kindness of a God who does not only rescue after the damage, he often protects before it happens. So let obedience become simple again. Do not overcomplicate it with guilt. Do not weaken it by waiting for everyone around you to understand. Do not postpone it until the danger becomes obvious to human eyes. Trust what God is pressing into your spirit. Trust the quiet no. Trust the inward caution. Trust the sense that your victory must not be mixed with unnecessary contact right now. Some blessings are not protected through battle cries. They are protected through a calm and immediate yes to God. David's journey keeps reminding you that the anointed life is not merely a life of power. It is a life of listening. It is a life of knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to stand and when to move, when to remain and when to depart. That kind of obedience is not glamorous to the flesh, but it is precious to heaven. As it is written, to obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. That truth reaches directly into this moment. Your obedience this Sunday matters more than any outward performance of loyalty or politeness. It carries protection. It carries wisdom. It carries the quiet strength of a soul that has learned not to wrestle with God when he is trying to preserve it. So receive this deeply. Heaven honors your obedience, even when other people do not. God sees the cost of it, the loneliness of it, the misunderstanding of it, and still he calls it good. Because one guarded day can block a chain of sabotage. One yielded decision can preserve the peace you fought so hard to receive. And one act of trust can keep you in alignment with the very victory God has just placed in your hands. And as obedience keeps protecting you, something else begins to happen with quiet force. False ties begin to break. Connections that once looked permanent begin to loosen. Attachments that once felt unquestionable begin to reveal their weakness. Bonds you once defended with your whole heart begin to show their true nature under the light of God's wisdom. This part can feel unsettling at first, because when false ties break, they rarely break without emotion. They pull on memory, though they stir sympathy. They awaken old habits of loyalty. They tempt you to confuse history with destiny. But what God is doing here is necessary. He is showing you that not every connection in your life was built to carry the person you are becoming. Some ties were only sustained by your exhaustion. Some bonds only worked when you were always overgiving, over-explaining, and overextending yourself. Some relationships survived because you kept shrinking to maintain them. Some people stayed comfortable with you only while you were under pressure, uncertain of yourself and easy to reach. But once God strengthened your spirit, once your peace became sacred, once your discernment began to sharpen, the strain inside those ties started to show. What looked stable was often only familiar. What looked deep was sometimes only repetitive. What looked loyal was in some cases only convenient. This is why this season feels so revealing. God is not merely removing people. He is exposing what held certain connections together in the first place. And when the foundation is false, it cannot survive the truth for long. False ties depend on confusion. They depend on guilt. They depend on your reluctance to disappoint others. They depend on your willingness to keep ignoring what your spirit has been telling you. But once truth enters, once peace matters, once obedience takes root, those ties begin to weaken. Their hold starts to break. Their emotional power starts to fade. Their ability to define your choices starts to collapse. David walked through this kind of unraveling in a painful and unmistakable way. As Saul's jealousy deepened, David could no longer pretend that former structures still meant safety. The outer form remained, but the inner reality had changed. What once looked like honorable closeness had become unstable. What once looked like belonging had become threat. What once looked like a secure place in the king's world had become a place where hidden hostility was growing more visible by the day. That is what false ties do when God begins to elevate a chosen one. They remain in form for a while, but truth slowly strips away the illusion. Eventually you realize that what you thought was support was never built to carry your future. That realization can hurt, because your heart does not always let go as quickly as your spirit understands. There is often a period where you still remember the better moments. You still remember what the tie looked like before it became compromised. You still want to honor what once seemed real. But God keeps showing you that some connections were attached to a version of you that no longer exists. They knew you when you were surviving. They knew you when you were available in unhealthy ways. They knew you when you tolerated what now disturbs your spirit. And because of that, they are struggling to recognize the person God is forming now. Do not be afraid of that breaking. Do not rush to repair what God is gently unraveling. Do not force continuity where heaven is creating separation. False ties often make their strongest emotional appeal right before they lose their hold. They may suddenly seem urgent. They may try to revive old patterns. They may pull on your compassion, your memory, or your desire to keep peace at all costs. But this is where discernment must stay stronger than nostalgia. This is where obedience must remain clearer than sentiment. God is not cruel for ending what was false. He is kind enough to stop it from confusing your future. David's story keeps echoing this truth with every step. He did not become unloving because he could no longer remain bound to a corrupted structure. He did not become proud because the old closeness could not continue. He became free to follow the path God was preserving for him. The breaking of false ties was not the destruction of his purpose. It was the clearing of the road ahead. In the same way, some of what is loosening in your life right now is not loss in the deepest sense. It is release. It is space. It is God removing the emotional ropes that kept trying to pull you back into old atmospheres long after your spirit was ready to move forward. This Sunday may become one of those quiet turning points where you feel the break more clearly than ever. Not because you are trying to be dramatic, but because truth has ripened. You can no longer unsee what God has shown you. You can no longer call it harmless just because it is familiar. You can no longer keep feeding a tie that drains peace every time it draws near. And that is a sign of growth. That is a sign that your soul is waking up to its own value. That is a sign that you are no longer willing to let counterfeit closeness stand where holy peace should live. As it is written, "Do not be deceived, bad company corrupts good character." 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. That verse is not only a warning about obvious rebellion, it is also a reminder that proximity shapes people. Company matters. Atmosphere matters. Repeated closeness matters. And because it matters, God sometimes breaks the tie before the tie breaks you. So if this is speaking directly to your spirit, comment "I release it." Because that release is holy. That release is not weakness. That release is not bitterness. It is the sound of a chosen one finally agreeing with God about what can no longer remain. It is the quiet courage to let counterfeit ties fall away without chasing them, reviving them, or grieving them beyond wisdom. And when that breaking finishes its work, you will breathe differently. You will think more clearly. You will feel the strange but beautiful lightness that comes when the soul is no longer bound to what heaven has already judged too small, too unstable, or too false for the road ahead. And once the false ties begin to loosen, something holy opens in their place. It is not emptiness the way fear once described it to you. It is not abandonment the way your old wounds tried to frame it. It is space. It is breathing room. It is the beginning of clarity. This is why solitude becomes so important now, especially on a day like this Sunday. When God starts removing noise from around a chosen one, He is not always taking something away. He is often making room for a cleaner signal. He is making room for you to hear again. He is making room for your spirit to settle deeply enough that wisdom can rise without interruption. There are things God will say to you in solitude that crowded company would never allow you to hear. There are impressions He will place on your heart that would be talked over in the presence of draining people. There are realizations that only become visible when the pressure to perform for others finally lifts. That is why the enemy fights your quiet so fiercely. Because quiet is where confusion starts losing its grip. Quiet is where patterns become obvious. Quiet is where the soul stops reacting and begins discerning. Quiet is where the voice of God is no longer competing with the opinions, moods, expectations, and subtle manipulations of those who have stood too close for too long. David knew this intimately. The wilderness was not the place he would have chosen in the natural mind, but it became one of the places where his hearing was sharpened. Away from Saul's court, away from the unstable atmosphere of jealousy and pressure, away from the constant tension of knowing danger could rise from the very room where he stood. David entered spaces where dependence on God became more than a holy idea. It became survival. In those lonely places, he was not merely hiding from threat. He was learning how to hear. He was learning how to ask. He was learning how to wait for God's direction instead of moving by impulse, pain, or wounded pride. That is what solitude is becoming for you now. Not punishment, not exile, not a sign that life is narrowing into something small. It is becoming a sacred chamber where your inner life can be reordered. God is bringing you into a place where your thoughts stop scattering in 10 directions and begin gathering under truth. He is bringing you into a place where your emotions can exhale. He is bringing you into a place where the spiritual warning that once felt vague becomes plain. In solitude, the blur starts to clear. In solitude, what was hidden in relationships becomes easier to name. In solitude, you begin to understand why certain company always left you with less peace, less focus, less strength, and less clarity than before. This Sunday, that matters deeply. You do not need a crowded day to prove your life has meaning. You do not need endless interaction to feel important. You do not need to fill the hours with people simply because silence once made you uncomfortable. This is a different season. The Lord is teaching you that solitude can be rich when He inhabits it. He is teaching you that being alone with Him can restore more than a dozen conversations ever could. He is teaching you that your spirit often recovers its true balance when it is no longer adjusting itself to everyone else's energy. David's path reveals the beauty of that truth. In the hidden places, his heart was not being wasted. It was being trained. His prayers deepened. His instincts became cleaner. His dependence became stronger. He learned not to be ruled by panic. He learned not to chase the approval of unstable people. He learned that the God who anointed him in private could also guide him in the lonely terrain between promise and fulfillment. That lonely terrain became holy ground because God was there. And when God is present, solitude stops being a void and becomes a meeting place. That is what can happen for you this Sunday if you honor the instruction to pull back. The day can become a meeting place. The silence can become medicine. The separation can become understanding. The stillness can become revelation. Questions that felt tangled can begin to unwind. Emotions that felt heavy can begin to soften. You can start hearing the deeper meaning beneath the warning. You can start recognizing that God was not only telling you who to avoid, He was also inviting you into a clearer closeness with Him. Sometimes people think clarity comes from collecting more opinions, more advice, more conversations, and more outside input. But often clarity comes when the extra voices are removed. Often clarity comes when the soul stops being crowded. Often clarity comes when the chosen one stops trying to manage everyone's access and simply sits before God with an undefended heart. That is where alignment returns. That is where peace becomes intelligent. That is where your next steps stop feeling forced and start feeling led. David again shows you the pattern. He was not sustained by human closeness alone. He was sustained by divine guidance. In the wilderness, he asked, listened, waited, and moved under instruction. That is why his solitude was fruitful. It was not empty isolation. It was a place of communion. It was a place where God formed a ruler by first teaching him how to hear like a servant. And perhaps that is exactly what this Sunday is becoming for you. Not a loss of company, but a gain of clarity. Not a day of absence, but a day of encounter. Not a sign that you are forgotten, but a sign that God wants your attention without interruption. As it is written, "As for me, I will see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness." Psalm 17, verse 15. That is the language of deep spiritual satisfaction, the kind that is not fed by noise, crowds, or constant contact. It is the language of a soul made full in God's presence. It is God drawing you away from restless company and into the quiet place where your spirit becomes steady. Your vision becomes clear, and your heart remembers that true fulfillment is found in Him. So do not fear the solitude. Welcome it. Let it do its work. Let God speak into the quiet places that people kept interrupting. Let him restore your perception. Let him bring order to your thoughts and peace to your spirit. Because when false ties break and the noise falls back, the chosen one finally begins to hear with greater purity. And in that purified hearing, the path ahead grows clearer, steadier, and far more protected than anything constant company could ever provide. And now you understand why guarding what God gave you is not optional. It is the final proof that you have changed. It is the evidence that you no longer treat your peace like something cheap, your calling like something casual, or your inner life like an open field for every passing voice. You have come too far for that. You have cried too much, endured too much, lost too much, and learned too much to go back to living without boundaries. What God has placed in your hands now is precious. It may look like peace. It may look like clarity. It may look like emotional stability, fresh vision, stronger discernment, or a quieter spirit. Whatever form it has taken in your life, it carries the touch of heaven, and anything touched by heaven must be handled with reverence. This is why the guilt has to fall away now. You cannot keep apologizing for protecting what took so long to heal. You cannot keep explaining why you need distance when God has already made the instruction plain. You cannot keep trying to soften your obedience just to make other people comfortable with access they were never meant to keep forever. This is the hour where your no becomes clean, your yes becomes sacred, and your peace becomes non-negotiable. Not because you are hard, not because you are proud, but because you finally know the cost of living unguarded. That is one of the deepest lessons this whole journey has been teaching you. Winning was never only about reaching a breakthrough. It was also about becoming the kind of person who can carry that breakthrough without handing it back to chaos. Many people receive a blessing, then expose it too quickly. Many people receive clarity, then let familiar voices talk them back into confusion. Many people receive peace, then reopen the same old doors that once drained it from them. But you are being called into something more mature than that. You are being called to protect the very thing you prayed for when you were in pain. So this Sunday becomes more than a single day. It becomes a decision. It becomes a line in the spirit. It becomes the moment you stop letting pressure override discernment. It becomes the moment you stop mistaking access for love. It becomes the moment you stop thinking holiness always looks loud, public, and explainable. Sometimes holiness looks like quiet withdrawal. Sometimes holiness looks like choosing rest. Sometimes holiness looks like refusing contact because the Lord is preserving something tender within you. And when you honor that, you are not losing anything that truly belongs in your future. You are simply refusing to let the wrong hands touch what God has just restored. So let prayer rise here, not as something forced, but as the natural response of a heart that wants to remain under God's covering. Lord, thank you for bringing me through battles that should have broken me. Thank you for keeping me when I was tired, for lifting me when I was low, and for preserving what the enemy tried to destroy. Thank you for the victory you have placed over my life, even in ways I am still learning to understand. Guard my mind, guard my heart, and guard my spirit. Teach me to recognize what is not meant to stand near me in this season. Remove guilt from my obedience. Remove confusion from my discernment. Give me peace that does not bend under pressure and wisdom that does not collapse under emotion. Let this Sunday be covered by your presence. Let every wrong voice lose its access. Let every false tie finish breaking. Let every restless place in me become still before you. And let me honor what you have given me with courage, humility, and trust. In Jesus' name, amen. Carry that prayer with you now. Let it settle into your breathing. Let it steady your thoughts. Let it become the inner agreement between your soul and God as you move through this day and the days ahead. Because once a chosen one learns to guard the gift, everything begins to change. You stop living reactively. You stop living available to manipulation. You stop living under the emotional weather of other people's instability. You start living from center, from peace, from instruction, from a deeper awareness that your life belongs to God first. And that is the posture you must keep now. Stand firm in your win. Do not let guilt pull you back. Do not let pressure talk you into compromise. Do not let loneliness tempt you into reopening doors that heaven has already closed with mercy. There is a difference between being compassionate and being careless. There is a difference between staying loving and staying overexposed. There is a difference between being available to God and being available to everyone. You are learning that difference now, and that lesson will protect you far beyond this Sunday. If this message has walked with you, strengthened you, or put words to something your spirit has been carrying, let that response be simple and sincere. You can like it so this word reaches someone else who needs this same confirmation. You can share it with a person standing in a similar season of discernment and quiet protection. You can subscribe so you stay connected to these messages as God keeps leading you forward with greater wisdom and peace. And if you feel led to support this work more deeply, there is a way to do that in the description, where your giving helps these messages continue reaching hearts that need them. Now keep this final truth close. You do not guard what God gave because you are afraid. You guard it because you finally understand its value. You guard it because peace is precious. You guard it because obedience matters. You guard it because your spirit is no longer asleep. You guard it because what heaven placed in you is not common. And when you protect that gift with wisdom, your life becomes steadier, cleaner, lighter, and stronger. That is how you move forward now, not in panic, not in guilt, not in confusion, but in quiet certainty, knowing that the God who gave the victory will also teach you how to keep it.